Okay, so let's talk about this entrance. So we know that the center line of the entrance is 43 feet off of this corner, all right? So I'm going to try to squish these into two, so bear with me. So I can draw at the same time. I'm going to go ahead and close that. And I'm going to push this over. And go to my model. I don't need this right now. I'm going to squish this out of the way. Okay. So now what we have is, I am going to go back to the view of one. Zoom in here. Okay, so there is our center line, and it says that, okay, so there's 150 feet, that's all good. These are 96 feet. I have 2 feet from the center of that. So I'm going to start with this known 2 feet right here. Okay, so I'm just going to draw a circle. And the reason I'm going to draw a circle is because it gives me and allows me to put a radius of 2. So that's where this point is. So C26 and C25, what we need on those is to figure out what the radius is. So come up here, C25 and C26. 25 and 26 says they have a radius of 3. So what I'm going to do is I am going to draw a circle at the intersection, and it's going to have a 3-foot radius. Now that's not the right place, right? It needs to be moved over from the quadrant to the intersection, to there. All right. Now, from here, and this is what the plats are all about, you have to be able to recreate what the plat is telling you. Now, notice that the direction, it's 89, 52, 30, 89, 52, 30, 89, 52, 30. They're all parallel. Woohoo, they're parallel. Now, it's a total of 6 feet, which makes sense. So I'm going to offset 3 feet on this side and that side. I'm going to trim, and I'm going to get rid of. Okay, see how this doesn't allow you to trim? So let me see if I can do a cutting edge and get all the way across and trim that. See, that just should have hit that dead center, but it didn't. So you know what I'm going to do? So I am going to delete that. I know this is for real. So maybe I clicked on the wrong thing. Maybe the quadrant wasn't correct. So I'm going to do a circle. So I know that the circle needs to be offset. Let's try this. There's a lot of different ways. Offset 3 feet on this point here, because that's the intersection of the circle. And if I go circle and I go intersection and I go 3 feet, that's where it should trim up. That one seems fine. Let's see if this one works. And that one's fine. And I should be able to get rid of that. Get rid of that. And that. And that. And that. Okay, there's one. Now, the distance that this is, it says it is 102.81 feet. But the option that we can use is the 96.81 feet. So I'm going to do a circle at the end point here and go 96.881. Well, that had a heck of a wrongness to it. Let me pull this out just a little bit. So 96.881. Okay, so I'm going to do a polyline at the intersection here and perpendicular to here. And now I can draw a circle. These are all the different options. If y'all can figure a different way out, more power to you. These are just how my mind works, and it's a 3 foot. Now I should be able to trim. Get rid of that. Make sure it's trimmed down. Get rid of that, and that, and that. And I don't need that, and I don't need that. It needs to be on its proper layer, but we're getting there. So I'm actually going to put it on the right-of-way layer. Technically, it shouldn't be on the right-of-way layer. I need a solid layer. I'm going to put it on the property layer. I'll use that as my layer because I want a continuous line, and I don't feel like changing and manipulating all that. I am going to pull this up like that. Notice how theirs is stacked like that? That's just a different style. So what we can do is we can use the bearing over distance. I don't like the height of it, so I'm going to change back to our style, bearing and distance, and I'm going to edit that. So I'm going to go create and edit, and then I am going to make the copy of this, and I'm going to call it over distance. Go to general. Now what we can do is click on that, and then at the end of that just hit enter. Get rid of the spaces, and then go OK. And then apply, and OK, and OK. And there it is. That looks good. All right. So we've got this one done, and we can label it with our tags. Now the next one is a little bit different. So now that we can see, we've got L1. L1 is apparently a flat spot in there. There's 22 feet, so let's go ahead and do a circle. You can tell I'm big on my circles. Circle. At the intersection, and we say it's 22 feet. All right. Now, so I'm going to start with L1. Come up here and see what L1 is. I'm just going to arbitrarily draw this out here. Polyline, pick a point, use your transparent command, northwest, 89 degrees, 52 minutes, 30 seconds, enter, 12.19, enter, enter, enter. Okay. The next thing is C29. Okay. It has a delta of 90. All right. And it has a chord direction of south 35, 43, 48. South 45, 7, 30. So I'm going to draw a line that has that bearing in that distance. All right. So from here, I'm going to go southwest, 45, 7, 30. Okay. enter, and it is 2.83. Enter, enter. Okay. Now, that is the chord. So the circle it's going to have a 90-degree angle that it makes in between these two. So if I take this and I tell it to rotate at this point, and it's a copy, that's not what I want to do. All right, so I'm going to do it a little bit different. I'm going to go ahead and draw a polyline straight down, and we know that it's a 2-foot radius, right? So I'm going to bring this straight down. Oops, undo. 2 feet. And then I'm going to rotate this and make a copy, C for copy, and I'm going to take it and tell it go 90. Okay, that is the angle from here to here. So that's 90, right? Now, I'm going to move this from this end point here to this end point here. Okay, it doesn't touch, and it should. So I need to rotate this from this end point here, R for reference, that end point to that end point to that end point. Okay, it's not going to be perfect because here's the problem. We've got so many significant digits that we're missing. But if I did a circle at the end of this and went 2 feet, then how much am I really losing off of that? You got to remember, we're missing decimal places for minutes and seconds. Okay, so unless I typed it in wrong, that's 282, which rounds up to 283, 282.8. So that's not bad. So that's how I draw them. There's different ways to draw them, but this gets my point across of this is my intersection angle here of the 90 degrees. That does not mean that this is going to be 90 as well, okay? If it's tangential, it will. You don't always bank on that, okay? So let me get rid of that. So the next one is, off of that endpoint is L3. L3 is south, so let's draw a polyline at the endpoint, and it is going to go south 0 degrees, 7 minutes, and 30 seconds. Enter, and its distance is, I must have typed something in wrong because it's not catching. So I'm going southwest, 0 degrees, 7 minutes, 30 seconds. Enter, a distance of 1.67. Enter, enter. Now the next one is 30. Okay, so 30 is polyline, endpoint. I'm going to do the chord, and it's going southeast, 49 degrees, 35 minutes, 43 seconds. Enter. 3.05 feet. Enter. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to draw my polyline again, and this time the radius is still 2 down, and I'm going to rotate that to get my intersection angle, and that intersection angle is 99, 26, 27. It is 30 again, right? Yeah. So I'm going to go 99, 26, 25. Ugh. This is the other reason I always use vertical. And so if I did an angle between these two, 99, 26, 25. Now I'm going to move this from that endpoint to that endpoint, and I'm going to RO rotate P for previous, hit enter, endpoint, R for reference, endpoint, endpoint to endpoint, and then I can draw a circle from here and say 2. And then I can trim, and I trim that off, and I trim that off. Kind of, sort of. It needs to extend to there. So how far did that change it? So that length is still 305. Okay, again, rounding. So the next one is L what? L4. So P line. L4 is going to be in the northeast, 79 degrees, 5 minutes, 17 seconds. Enter. 9.7. Enter, enter. Okay. Right. So I'm going to go ahead and do the next one. Sorry, got sidetracked there in my mind. 31. All right. So 31, I'm going to go P line, endpoint, and I'm going to go into the northeast quadrant. I'll do that again. It didn't snap to the end. Endpoint, northeast quadrant. 30. It's 31, right? Yep. $38 degrees, 48 minutes, and 30 seconds. Enter. And that distance is 3.75. Enter. Enter. Now the radius is 3. P line. 3. I'm going to rotate this about the point. 77 degrees. 22 minutes. And 0 seconds. Should have hit copy. 77 degrees, 22 minutes, 0 seconds. Enter, enter. And then I'm going to move this, that endpoint to that. This endpoint to that endpoint, and I'm going to rotate that from that, R for reference, that endpoint to that endpoint to that endpoint, and draw a circle from there with a radius of 3. And then I'm going to trim that off and that off and that off. And then it's close. Not perfect, but it's close. Go ahead and extend that. And then I'm going to create a line from this endpoint to this endpoint, which should be this one right here, L2. So if I look at it, L2 should be about 0.86. And there it is, 0.86. So now I've got it drawn. Now the question is how do I associate this to this intersection, right? Well, it says it's got 13.82 feet. I am going to assume there should have been something tied off. I don't see what I'm missing. I am going to move it from the midpoint for right now. That to the intersection over here to here. Now, what I can do is from here, we know that that's 13.62 feet. So that actually tells us something. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these bits on the inside. They're not needed. Just helps me lay out this. So this, if I draw this circle at 13, I'm going to get rid of that, 1362, 13.62. That means this, and then I've got another circle at this intersection. Oh, let me do that. That point, make sure that that is a distance of 1467. I got 1457. 1362. Did I type that wrong? Yeah, I typed that wrong. 1362. 62. That's better. Nope. Typo. 13.62. Okay. Okay. So here's the thing. If that's the measurement, then that can't be midpoint. So what I'm going to do is go apparent intersection, and I am just going to draw this straight up, and I'm going to change its color just so I can see, because I have too many white colors going on. Change it to yellow. Okay. Not probably the easiest thing to see either. Let's go magenta. Better. All right. That means I'm going to take all of these pieces and I'm going to move it where this apparent intersection is. This one right here. And put it down here. Oops. Let me get rid of these circles now and make sure that I am almost on the line. So this needs to be moved again. So it's touching down here. there looks to be a gap here too that needs to be trimmed off. There we go. I know it's just a tiny little bit and nobody's ever going to notice it, but I'm just making sure you all know what's right. And there we go. Okay, so now everything would measure perfectly. Another option they could have done is they could have given us a distance between this length here and this straight line here. It should have been an offset. If I had to guess, it would be an offset of, let's draw, I would say 24, but I'm not sure. Endpoint to perpendicular. See what that length is. It should be something even. Well, nope, 36, 38, I don't know. Typically they give you some type of offset. Even here, did they give us an offset on this side? Sometimes they'll give us an offset on that one. Endpoint to perpendicular. 3152. If I had to guess, I would have thought that it would have been on the same line as that one. So if I drew, well, no, I'm not going to draw. If I copied this, what was an offset of 3? Nope, that's not even going to work. Anyway, I'm going to let it go. We'll let it go. All right. Now, they also have a line here. I'm going to match these properties up all through here. And I'm going to go ahead and add my labels and finish up the curve table. So I'm going to go line and curve, signal segment, looks good. Now they split it in two, and there's no line in between. Oh, there is. No, there's not. I'm not sure why they put two curves. They actually broke this down instead of making it into one. I'm going to use this as a break symbol. Modify, use that button right there. So now it should be in two pieces with no gaps. That's the only thing I don't like about the break command. It's not always perfect. So I'm going to label my curves. That's kind of tiny. This is why we use the curve tags too, just FYI. That one. Got to break this one too. Okay. Now I'll come over. Let me make that bigger. View. You could do vertical if you wanted. Add. That one, that one, that one, and that one. And then you can pull them over, clean it up. You could have these stacked, MA, I'm going to match. There's no absolute about how these things look. It's mostly, can you read it, and can somebody, this is what Platts, can somebody read it and can somebody recreate it like we're recreating this one. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and add the labels for this portion. 2, 3, and 4. So that's where the 4 line tables come from. So I can annotate, add tables, add line tables. I'm going to select, and I'm going to pick this one, that one, that one, and that one. Enter, enter, enter. Oh, I shouldn't hit enter. Okay, try that again. Sorry, guys. So, 2, 3, and 4. Convert. Okay, and there we are. I've got an extra one. Must have labeled that twice. Sometimes people do a explode or a zoomed in view, or called exploded view. Sometimes everybody has different names for them. All right, same thing with this one. Is we've got a table properties. Let's change that, and we're going to say LINE, and then LINGT. Okay, and then direction, and then line table. I can't type. TABLE. Okay. Apply. Display. Oh, back properties. Make sure it says sort data. Apply, and okay. And there are. I should have changed the decimal degrees to get rid of that. I'm not going to do it right now. And then let's put this tucked up under here like that. And then let's go back to our sheet. Okay. So now we know we need to bring this over here. All right. And then let's expand this view. And there we go. Okay, so that is finished. Double click that. Match. I need to check to see if this one, okay, so this one actually has a line on it also. So let's do a line from here to here. Match. Let's label those. And they did that because it may be different ownership, who's maintaining it, different homeowners associations, etc. Also notice the things that we have to label is the width, the right-of-ways. So you can see these. You can see the tract, Whistling Straits Boulevard needs to be labeled. Dimensions, we need to put dots on where our point of curvatures are, okay? So let me move this back over. Okay, so they also broke this one too. So there's a break in these. So break. And drag this back up. I don't think that's going to let me, so I'm just, oh, goodness gracious. Extend. All right. So break. Extend. Add a label. All right. Now, so they have the dimensions on each portion, okay? So what I want you to do is I'm going to stop here, and you can add the additional labels that we're missing in here. I'm not going to worry about the column detail. I want you to focus on finishing up, actually adding the label. Make sure all the dots are at the center is literally, you could come over here. I'm just going to draw a circle. I'm not going to bother with that. So make something one. Make sure that whatever you're drawing on is current. So I'm going to make that current. Home. Make current. Actually, I'm not going to make it that one. It should be on its proper layer. Uh-oh. I am going to put it on the... Oh, you know what? I am going to leave it on that one, because here's the thing. What I want you to notice is all of these have dots. Look how big this dot is compared to this dot. So what you're going to do is you're going to have, it's to show the break in bearings. So I'm going to draw a circle at the end point here, and I'm going to draw it to be about that big. And I'm going to hatch it. H for hatch. And then I am going to select the object. And I'm going to pick that. All right. And then I am going to copy this. From that endpoint to that endpoint, to that endpoint, to that endpoint, to that endpoint, to that endpoint. And notice it's also on the right-of-ways. Okay, notice they're a little bit smaller. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on that one, but I'm going to make it smaller. SC. And I'm going to do 0.75. I'm scaling it down by 0.75. And now I'm going to copy it. That endpoint to that endpoint to that endpoint to that endpoint to that endpoint. You get my drift. We still have to clean up these. That still looks like a mess. All right, but you don't need me to show you all that. You all can clean that up. You know that's what it looks like. Now, the other thing that needs to be labeled is label the drainage and utility easement. There's a 9.5 there. There's a 10 here. There's a 10 here. There is a 10 here and a 10 here. So I want you to go ahead and label the easements that look like this also. All right. I'm going to go ahead and stop here. And the next thing we're going to talk about is, or work on, is the cover sheet. All right. We're going to talk about the plat notes. Okay. So you've got a majority of this already finished. Go ahead and finish cleaning it up. All right. If you have any questions, just let me know.